Welcome to the Being There podcast. Stories from the road, where we keep the rubber side down. These are stories written by my father, Gene McAlmont. Commentary by his son, me, John McAlmont. This is episode 4, A Young Beauty. It is the surprises in life that keep things interesting, and the knowledge that no one is ever too old, too married, or too sophisticated to fall victim to one of nature's most persistent drives. This is A Young Beauty. The deepening blue of the November sky seemed to punctuate the crispness of the air. I snapped on my clear face shield, stuffed the dark-tinted one into an old sock, and shoved it into the tank bag. The fading light had made it difficult to see through the dark shield, and riding at dusk in the hill country requires a certain kind of vigilance. Jerry was sitting on his bike watching the whole affair. He's a patient sort of guy, and I never seem to run out of ways to amuse him. In fact, I kind of feel like a chimp being observed in the wild as I futz with all of my riding gear. I've never seen him take notes, although I could be wrong in this. We'd been riding for a couple of hours, and I was glad to see the old Cypress Lodge Motel at the end of town. The porch lights were on, but no one was home, and there were no cars out front. We seemed to have the place to ourselves. I saw a note on the office door. "We'll be back in the morning, pick a room, and we'll settle up later." This was, after all, utopia. Jerry was already unpacking in the room on the end of the building. It hadn't been a difficult decision. We've always stayed in that room. The porch outside had been the setting for many hours of philosophical discussions over something cold and slightly alcoholic. This old motel in the heart of the hill country had been a place where we had reset our clocks and renewed our friendship of many years. The chicken, fried steak, and mashed potatoes were up to their usual high standards at the Lost Maples Cafe. The place was lively and noisy, with local families enjoying the coolness of the evening. A few cups of hot coffee had revived my senses and washed away the dryness of my parched throat. After dinner, we decided some libations might just be the thing to settle the heavy meal and soothe our aching muscles. The River Rock store next door to the cafe would provide the ice and cola we needed. So we mounted our expedition. I was assigned the task of scoring the snacks and ice while Jerry would secure the cola. Ice and munchies in hand, I headed for the register. An old man sat reading his newspaper just to the right of the counter. His equally old dog lay at his feet. I put my plunder on the counter and reached into my riding jacket for some money. What happened next has, become the lure of many evenings around the campfire. The young woman behind the counter turned to look at me. Her silken yellow hair seemed to flow outward in an imaginary breeze, like some overproduced TV commercial. Her eyes sparkled with a blueness I had only seen in the bright turquoise sky of a cold winter's evening. An easy smile parted the fullness of her lips as we made eye contact. She wore no makeup, although her skin glowed with natural warmth. Something inside of me snapped as my brain slowly turned into vicious goo. Here before me was a young beauty who had accepted me not as a stranger but as a person. I knew immediately that I was not in Dallas anymore. She spoke to me, but I could not hear. Time for me had stopped. A hand clutching a $5 appeared over my paralyzed left shoulder. My old friend, sensing my helplessness, had once again saved me. Or so he thought. She took the bill, handed him the change. I still hadn't moved, nor was I likely to without help. The old man said, "Mighty big bag of ice you got there, young fella. How you going to carry that on your motorcycle?" "I got the sodas," Jerry said as he turned toward the door. "The rest is up to you." She looked at me as if expecting some answer. The wall clock ticked away the seconds. The dog looked at me, as I did the old man. I realized that I had left the cargo net back at the motel. The thought of holding that bag of ice between my legs all the way back was too painful to imagine. Silence hung in the air like a deep fog. I was crumbling before her, unable to manage even this simple task. I was becoming less worthy of her attention. Then, as if given from above, inspiration hit me. "No problemo," I said, as I shoved the full bag of ice down my open riding suit. She looked at me in amazement. I was proud of the brilliance of my solution. Then, as I basked in the glow of her seeming approval, I realized what I had done. It was just a tiny tear, but it was enough. The rum and cola tasted pretty good as I sat shivering in the lawn chair on the porch outside of our room. I took some comfort knowing my riding suit would be dry by morning. The ice bag sat in a small bucket Jerry had found on the side of the building. There was still plenty of ice for the evening, but the bag was suspiciously smaller than when it had been purchased. Some dry underwear had made things more comfortable, and life seemed pretty good about now. We sat there bundled up against the cold evening air, sipping our rum and colas. We said nothing. The car passed slowly by the motel, but drove on. I could hear voices from the town in the stillness of the night air. Luminous sounds, not unlike the laughter of a young woman, rode on the gentle breeze. "You know," Jerry said, "I'm amazed at what an old fart will do in the presence of a young beauty." "Yeah, there's some truth in that," I said. A Young Beauty, written by Jean McAlmont. That dark-tinted face shield is still in a sock in my barn. My dad had so many gadgets when he wrote. He was a gadget guy. Jerry would always make fun of them. And it was not unusual to stop into a convenience store for gas or a restroom break or whatnot, and for everybody around my father to be saddled up and ready to go, and my father still plugging in a warming vest or fixing his gloves, or in this case, changing his clear face shield and stuffing the dark-tinted one into an old sock. We all ribbed him for that, but probably Jerry the most. Jerry, being my dad's best friend, probably has the best stories about my dad that anyone has. That comes with a lifetime of friendship. And my father and Jerry had that. They could sit out and drink their rum and colas and not say a word, yet solve the world's problems in silence. I'm going to invite Jerry on the podcast here in the not-too-distant future. I'll let him listen to a couple beforehand and get him on here to talk about something fun. It's not surprising that when my dad shuffled up to that counter and looked at that beautiful girl, he was struck, because my dad never looked at anybody. He always looked inside of them. When having a conversation with Jean McAlmont, it wasn't a surface thing. It was always very intimate. He had a way about him that would put people at ease, and they would talk to him. It was a little gift my dad had. I remember one time calling him up, and I say this to my girls now as well. "Hey, Dad, you got a minute?" He would always say, "I always have a minute for you, son." Thank you for listening and spending this time with me. If this stirs your soul like it stirs mine, and you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe and follow the podcast so you don't miss future readings and commentary. All written material featured in this podcast is the original work of my father and used with his permission. The thoughts and opinions I share are my own. This recording is for personal listening only. My voice likeness and performance are protected and may not be recorded, reproduced, or used in any form of AI training, cloning, or synthetic replication without my explicit written consent. Thanks again for being here. Until next time, keep the rubber side down and safe travels.